already happening. It's happened in the past. It happened when the legislature created the Health Care Trust Fund, when it created the Skilled Worker and Job Creation Fund. There are some situations where we're just not going to be able to avoid them. We're not so smart that we can come up with a magic mechanism to avoid every conceivable problem. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Another point that was made was that the current Constitution is sufficient. Well, I say let's ask Iowans. Let's ask them if they think it's sufficient. My first job as appropriations chair was to deappropriate $118 million. And now we're staring at another $131 million loss, or shortfall, I should say, in anticipated revenue. I don't think most Iowa voters would say that that's okay and that they're happy with that. I know I've heard that at the town halls that I've been to. So let's put it to the Iowa voters. It is not really we who are deciding whether or not to put something into the Constitution. It'll ultimately be up to Iowans to decide whether or not this is something they want to be in the Constitution. We have a fiduciary duty to Iowa taxpayers. They expect us to spend their money wisely. They expect us to spend within our means. The 99% expenditure law has been helpful in that effort. But over time, we've seen its flaws. The most glaring of these is that it can be not withstood. In fact, this happened in fiscal years 2006, 2007, and 2009. In each of those years, the legislature not withstood the law to use the March estimate when it was higher than the December estimate. Another fix that we can make to the 99% expenditure limitation could have potentially addressed today's situation if it had been in place at the time, which is a problem that this law could have fixed, or this constitutional amendment could have helped us fix. Going into the fiscal year, so let's just take a look at the fiscal note if you haven't looked at it yet. The fiscal note on this bill shows that if the 99% expenditure limit were in place, enshrined in the Constitution over the last 6 fiscal years, state government could have spent $488.2 million less than it did. It could have, may not have, but could have. It's up to what the legislature decides to do with the surplus. But let's say we did let that roll over into the surplus. Going into fiscal year 17, we could have had a carryover surplus of at least $442.8 million, not counting any surplus that existed prior to fiscal year 10. Had that been the case, we would not have had to deappropriate funds for fiscal year 17, and we would not have to dip into the cash reserve fund to fix the most recent estimated shortfall. So that is a real problem that this constitutional amendment could have solved had it been in place. Now, this proposed amendment has other benefits. It helps us avoid the boom and bust cycles of budgeting. It provides fiscal discipline during periods of strong economic growth. It helps us make sure that we don't overextend our budget. And it helps us avoid the creation of structural deficits. We owe it to the taxpayers of Iowa, to whom we have a fiduciary duty, to give them a say on this and let them tell us if this is something they want enshrined in our state constitution. That concludes my closing comments. I simply move the bill and ask that it be read for the last time and placed on its passage.
The senator from Dallas moves that